What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back. In today's video we are checking out a brand new dash camera system from WOLFBOX. What we have here today is called the G900 Pro. So unlike the more traditional dash camera systems, this is a mirror dash camera system. So this basically gets installed over the mirror inside your vehicle. It is also larger than most mirrors available in most vehicles, so you're gonna have a better field of view behind yourself. So you can use this as a regular mirror, but you can also use it as an electronic mirror. You can literally see on it what the rear camera sees or what the front camera sees, or you can see the front and the rear at the same time. It is entirely up to you. And you can also turn it off and use it as a regular mirror if you don't want to see anything on the screen. This is also a 12-inch screen, so a fairly large screen as well. This records in crisp 4K with the front camera and 2.5K with the rear camera. So this is the rear camera right here, and our front camera is actually built in our mirror unit right here. This is also quite easy to install. You basically just put it over the mirror that you have in your vehicle. We have these straps. I don't have them on my desk, I actually don't. We have these straps that go behind the mirror, so you don't even see the straps. So it only takes a couple of minutes to install this. This dash camera system also has a GPS unit. I actually have the GPS unit right here. So it will display your current speed on the screen. Of course, you can turn off the screen as I said, but it can also have that speed and the location in all the recordings. And you can also turn that on or off. So the screen here, the 12-inch screen, is also a touch screen. So you can interact with the dash camera by basically touching the screen. But there is also a WOLFBOX app that you can install on your phone, and you can interact with the camera through your phone. This also features dual band Wi-Fi, so 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi bands or 5.8 GHz Wi-Fi bands. So even downloading the footage from the dash camera to your phone, it's done very fast. As well, you can watch the footage that you have saved on the dash camera on your phone. So you can do everything right on the dash camera or on your phone, whatever it's easier for you. So a dash camera like this can be installed in any vehicle within minutes, basically. You put this over the mirror in your vehicle, and the longest it's gonna take you is actually hiding the cable. So we have our charging cable right here. So this basically goes from the mirror to the cigarette lighter port in your vehicle. Now there is also a hardwiring kit that you can purchase for this, and if you do purchase the hardwiring kit and you install the hardwiring kit, then you're gonna get access to the parking monitor features of the dash camera. Without the hardwiring kit, you don't have access to the parking monitor features, because obviously every time you turn off the vehicle, the dash camera will turn off as well. So if you wanna take advantage of the parking monitor features, you need a hardwiring kit. If you don't care as much about that, just use the regular cable that comes in the box. And in my case, yes, I did use just this cable because it is very simple. The rear camera is also quite easy to install, but of course it will depend on your vehicle and where you wanna install this. If you use this red cable that you're seeing on this big cable here, basically this can become a reverse camera as well. So every time you put your car in reverse, the backup camera, so the rear camera, will show up on the mirror here. And if you have an older vehicle that doesn't have a backup camera, that could be a very handy feature as well. But of course, it really depends where you want to install this, and the longest it's going to take you is actually hiding the cable throughout your car. So that is the part that takes the longest in any dash camera system. Alright, so as I said, you can basically install this dash camera on any vehicle. The vehicle that I had this installed to for testing was a Tesla. And as you know, Teslas have a lot of cameras, a lot of sensors for all that self-driving. So part of my windshield in the center is taken by this module that has a lot of cameras and stuff inside. So the way I had this installed, part of that module does show up in those recordings, as you've seen for yourself in some sample recordings that I've showed you. Now that's not going to be an issue with most vehicles, because most vehicles don't actually have anything behind the mirror. So I figured I'll tell you that, because you may have noticed that I have a part of that module showing up in those recordings. In the case of my vehicle, there is nothing I can do because I cannot move this any other way, but most vehicles shouldn't have that issue. Now, Earlier I mentioned that you can interact with this by touching the screen or through the phone. Well, there is another way of actually interacting with this if you don't want to touch it at all. Because of course when you're driving, you don't necessarily want to be touching the screen when you're driving, right? So you can also interact with this with voice commands, and if you check out the user manual, all the voice commands are actually in there. So you can just be driving along, say a voice command, and the dash camera will do whatever you tell it to do. And since I couldn't really record this while I was driving, obviously for safety reasons, I might as well show you how the voice commands work. So there are a bunch of voice commands available. You can find them right on the dash camera or in the user manual. So let me show you some voice commands. So right now we are seeing the main camera, which is the front camera. So I can say things like show rear camera. So it's switched. Then let's say I want to see the front camera again. So I can say things like show front camera. I can also have the screen on or off. So I can say things like turn off screen. Or I can say things like turn on screen. So all these voice commands that are built in, so you don't actually have to touch the dash camera while you're driving. So very important because you don't want to be like pushing buttons and take your eyes off the road. Alright, so next we're gonna move on and check out some sample recordings that I've done with the main camera and of course the rear camera. All the recordings that you're about to see from the front camera were done in 4K, where the recordings done from the rear camera were done in 2.5K. I'm also gonna zoom in on some license plates in those recordings just so you can see how those recordings look, how well you can see the license plates and so on. So first we'll see some daytime recordings and then we'll see some nighttime recordings, and I will be right back after those. And as you've seen for yourself, for the daytime recordings, you can clearly see the license plates on the vehicles around you from the front camera and from the rear camera. So no problems whatsoever. Of course, it really depends how far those vehicles are from you, but you can technically zoom in. If you're recording in 4K, you can zoom in so you can get closer to those license plates after the recording is done. Of course, if you need to check a license plate. As for the nighttime recordings, that main camera has bright and clear recordings as well, so you can easily see the license plates for the vehicles around you. But of course, that also depends how the headlights point to those license plates, how the street lights kind of reflect in those license plates. So at night, it's a bit more challenging depending on the situation, of course, because in some situations there may be just too much light pointing at the license plate. Other than that, the dash camera itself is built really well. Of course, it's mostly made out of plastic. At the top here we have all our ports. We also have the slot for the SD card, and this particular dash camera came with an SD card of 128 gigs, so plenty of space for recordings. Of course, this also has a G sensor inside, so it will sense if there is any sudden motion, any sudden impact or anything like that, and it will basically lock that particular video file so it doesn't get deleted if the camera keeps recording for a long period of time. So if there is an accident happening, this will basically lock that video file in place, so there is no chance of that file being deleted. As always, there will be some links in the video's description so you can check out this dash camera. If there are any coupon codes available, I will also have those in the video's description as well. Thanks WOLFBOX for sponsoring this video and sending this over for testing. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave some comments down below and I'll try to answer whatever questions you may have. Thanks for watching and I'll see you guys in the next one.